here with Terradrift and a baller winter backpacking tent for all manner of cold weather camping and backpacking adventures. Yup, this is the Mountain Hardwear Outpost 2, and it's designed specifically for adventures in mountains, snow, and cold and windy conditions. So to test it out, we took it to Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado and all over Utah, pitched it in snow, slept in it on windy nights and when temps dropped into the teens, and basically just ran it through the gamut. But before we tell you how it performed, let's dive into some of the features, shall we? Mountain Hardwear says the Outpost 2 is expedition strength in 3-season weight. I mean, it's not the lightest 4-season tent at 89.9 ounces, that's about 5.6 pounds, but it's not too shabby as far as double-walled winter tents go, honestly. We've seen much heavier. It's a traditional double-walled tent, which means it will breathe better than single-walled tents and you'll wake up to less condensation inside the tent. It pitches with 3 DAC featherlight poles, features plenty of guy out points with attached and adjustable guy lines, and has big doors on both ends that open and close actually really easily. Bonus, the doors are dual layered, meaning you have the option to close them up against the wind and cold or unzip the nylon sheaths to reveal a mesh door that helps facilitate airflow in warmer temperatures. There are also mesh vents at the roof for added ventilation, 3 internal pockets, 2 at opposite corners and 1 small one on the ceiling, and it features an interior height of 41.5 inches and a floor area that's about 30.6 square feet. There is not 1, but 2 vestibules for storing gear outside the tent, and the whole thing is made without harmful fire retardant chemicals, so yay! Plus the addition of all the venting options make it not only a great winter tent, but a decent all-weather tent too, if, say, you're looking for one tent that can do it all. But let's get into what we thought about this tent after testing. First of all, we loved all the storage space, thanks to dual vestibules, and we're extra stoked that the one on the main entrance offers plenty of room for storing gear like backpacks or even cooking in extra cold weather when we, didn't want to sit outside or it was too windy. There was a fair amount of space inside too. I mean, if you're used to 2-person tents, of course. True, Josh and I aren't large humans. I'm 5'3" and he's 5'6", but we both fit comfortably with a bit of extra space near our heads or feet for water bottles, extra clothes, that sort of stuff. The edges of our pads were touching the walls though, so if that's a deal breaker for you, we suggest upgrading to a 3-person tent. That goes for if you are especially tall as well. We saw some reviews that said that their extra long sleeping bags really bumped up against the head and the foot of the tent. As for height and livability, the headroom inside the Outpost 2 was pretty decent, which is important in a winter backpacking tent, especially since there's a fair chance you'll be spending more time inside the tent than you would in, say, fairer weather. In some backpacking tents, it's hard for 2 people to even sit up inside, but in the Outpost 2, especially near the door, there was a fair amount of headroom and it offered enough space for 2 small to medium-sized people to sit comfortably while we cooked or played games. It breathed really well, and on truly cold nights, the condensation in our breath didn't freeze on the inside of the tent like it often does on single-wall tents. Instead, it froze on the inside of the fly, which is better. Mostly because that means melting frost won't be dripping on you and your stuff in the morning when, the sun starts warming things up. It's not pleasant. We also appreciated that fly when it snowed, as the fly kept condensation out of the inside of the tent when we went in and out the front door. A definite pro over single-wall tents with no vestibule. The Outpost also performed very well in wind. I was a little worried that the fly didn't extend all the way to the ground because it's a winter tent, and usually you want the fly to come pretty far down to keep out cold air and breezes, but we actually felt very little to no air when we were inside the tent, even on really windy nights. I will say though that it is not the fastest and easiest tent to set up. Not as easy as, say, a single wall tent, but I mean, it probably took 10 minutes to pitch. But I'm actually okay with that because of all the extra space all those poles on the fly affords. And yes, it does come with all the stakes you need, so that's a bonus. Another thing that was kind of weird about setup were these little plastic pole clips for the front of the tent fly. They're meant to keep everything securely attached and in place, but they seem a little bit as if they might be one of the first things to break. In which case, Mountain Hardwear will help you repair or replace it. After all, they believe that equipment is better on the mountain and not in the landfill, which is why they offer a lifetime limited warranty on all of their gear. I will say that all the little clips and loops work well though, but they are hard to use with gloves on, which is a little annoying since it's a winter backpacking tent, and chances are you will likely be setting it up in cold weather with gloves on. But this is me nitpicking, because basically this is a great tent, not just for winter camping and backpacking, but for any season. Venting options abound for all kinds of weather. The fly and vestibules offer lots of storage place and help keep the inside of the tent and its occupants dry, and the Outpost can withstand a fair amount of wind. It's not even that heavy for a winter backpacking tent. So if you need a solid, spacious winter backpacking tent that you can absolutely carry into other seasons, whether it's for one person or two, check out the Mountain Hardwear Outpost 2. You will not regret it. And if you do, well, I claim no responsibility. I actually preferred it to the Rab Mountain Latok that we tested earlier this season, but I preferred all the extra space that the Outpost afforded. And as long as there were two of us, we could split up the weight, which is why it's always handy to have a buddy when you're backpacking. Make them carry the heavy crap. You know what I'm saying? You small people know what I'm saying. We'll put a link to the Mountain Hardwear Outpost 2 in the description below, but before you go, make sure to hit that thumbs up and click subscribe so you don't miss any of our future gear reviews and outdoorsy updates. And then follow us on all the social channels. We're at Terradrift on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And be sure to head over to terradrift.com to check out all manner of written content that you won't find here on the YouTubes, like our favorite gear for every season and guides to layering for winter hikes. And as always, thanks so much for being here. Now get out there, sleep under the stars no matter how cold it is, and wander on. Seriously, I just like camped out in the vestibule. This is where all my meals are being cooked from now on. It's not always a great idea, like in grizzly bear country. Definitely don't want to cook anywhere near your tent, grizzly country. But elsewhere, and in the winter when, say, bears are hibernating, yeah, like it's windy and it's cold. So set that thing up in your vestibule, crack a little vent, at the top there, so you don't suffocate or inhale too many fumes from your gas canister. Cook that ramen right up. Oh, you don't have any good ramen recipes, you say? Listen, we've got you covered. Head over to terradrift.com and pick yourself up a whole cookbook of plant-based backpacking recipes written by, yes, yours truly. And they are the bomb. The peanut butter noodles? I got some backpacking to do in Guadalupe Mountains National Park this week, so whoosh, I'm taking this baby with me. Peace out.